How is everybody doing? And welcome back for another Strength Chat episode. Today, I have got a very special guest for you all. Today, I'm joined by the owner of Untamed Strength. He's competing in powerlifting and strongman. I think he's competing in weightlifting as well, actually. Today, I'm joined by the one and only Alan Thrall. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk. I enjoy doing these when I can. So I'm glad we
Nice.
figured out a
Yeah.
date. Yeah,
Well, thanks a lot for taking the time to jump on. How are you? What's been happening in your world recently?
I'm doing well. The gym is going great. Um, I think the next big move for the gym would be to get my own location. Right now, I'm leasing the gym. So as far as goals, I'd like to buy my own location. But the gym is going well. Outside of that, I've got my daughter who's a little over a year old, my son who's 4 years old. So just busy at home being a dad and running the gym. And I've picked up more personal training clients recently. I usually lay low during the first year of my daughter or my son, just because I'm so busy. But I've been picking that up more, and so I'm enjoying it.
Oh, nice. Plenty of things to keep you busy then. And with the when you mentioned there wanting to buy your own site, what's the process with that? Because I know sometimes I don't know what it's like in in the US and that sort of stuff, but in the UK sometimes it's depending on like where you're actually buying the land. Have you tried to have a look, or what's the process with that?
I haven't done any looking yet. I would like to stay in as close to the area as possible. I don't know how realistic that is. Might even put in an offer to purchase the location that I'm at right now, the spot that I'm leasing. It's just if the landlord will bite. Um, but yeah, if the space is right, if the all kinds of small details like we need a parking lot, we need this and that, um, and the location. I don't want to just uproot and take off across town and throw all the members off their routine. And then obviously the price. So I haven't really ventured into it, but I will be reaching out to a commercial real estate professional, a commercial real estate agent, and asking, for their help. But
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I haven't looked much into it.
Yeah, it's exciting to think about though, and the prospect of doing that, which will be good. Um, so obviously I did quite a brief introduction there, but for everyone listening who might not know your background, how you got into coaching, how the gym came about, your own training, just want to give a little bit of a background to yourself.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it plenty, so I won't ramble too much. But yeah, my name's Alan Thrall. I grew up in California, Sacramento, California, and I played sports when I was young. I got into lifting weights in middle school in preparation for high school football. Loved doing it. I did it all throughout high school. I took a little bit of break from lifting weights outside when once high school was finished, and eventually decided to join the United States Marine Corps. And during my time in the Marine Corps, I fell in love with lifting weights all over again, kind of from a different perspective than when I was doing it in high school. And loved doing it so much that I wanted to open my own gym once I got out of the Marine Corps. And so once I finished my 4 year contract in the Marine Corps, I had this idea to open Untamed Strength, and I made it happen just a few months after getting out of the Marine Corps. And since then, I've just been growing. So that would have been in 2013. This year will be the 10-year anniversary of the gym. And
Nice.
so September of 2013 was when I opened. And so I've been just steadily growing Untamed Strength since then. And I've uh, almost since the beginning, I've been making YouTube videos as well. And so there's this, Untamed Strength kind of presence outside of just the gym, but also online. So
Nice. And because obviously I mentioned there, competed in a variety of strength sports. Do you have a favorite? Is there anything that you've enjoyed as much?
I would say Strongman.
Yeah.
Strongman is probably my most favorite. Just the variety is really entertaining and engaging. There's also a number of strength disciplines that are tested. It's just not a 1 rep max bench squat deadlift, and then it's not just a clean jerk and snatch. While I can do some weightlifting and some powerlifting along with strongman, the you know you not so much the other way around. So I enjoy strongman most, and I think that's been the thing that I enjoy most with teaching, as well as growing the gym with more and more strongman to a bigger strongman facility is also more enjoyable. So pretty much strongman across the board, I would say, is my most favorite.
Nice. And do you think, and why I asked that is, obviously with how, because I remember watching Europe's Strongest Man in Leeds, and it was literally just in like a real small stadium. Whereas now, some of the venues, you look at World's Strongest Man, you look at Giants Lives, on the bigger scale, if you like, and the audiences that are watching them. Do you find that a lot more people? I know this is maybe a little bit of a tangent, but do you find that a lot more people are wanting to get involved with strongman, and strongman is maybe a little bit more maybe accessible to a lot more people?
Yeah, I think that whatever the marketers of strongman, these show promoters are doing a very good job of getting more eyes on, whether it's World's Strongest Man or Giants Live, like you mentioned. There's a lot more stadium shows, venue shows, even venue shows and large stadiums that aren't at the top level at World's Strongest Man. So I think that everyone's been doing a good job of, everyone within the strongman community, a good job of getting more eyes on. And yeah, I think it's just entertaining to watch, just to see the different types of events. They're much more visually appealing than a snatch and a clean and jerk or bench squat deadlift. But to see, pulling an airplane, lifting cars, carrying kegs or anvils. Yeah, I think it's just more entertaining. That's what strongman started out as in the 70s, was just kind of like a circus sideshow. Let's see who's the strongest. And it's only got better from there.
Yeah, definitely, and it's cool. It's just cool to see, someone pulling a plane. When else will you see that? I think with it's when you mentioned there about weightlifting or a powerlifting competition. I actually went to Sheffield 2023. So obviously it was the first powerlifting competition of its kind, if you like. And they did try and make it a little bit more entertaining. It is still just squat, bench, and deadlift, but they tried to put more screens up and more smoke and commentators and those sorts of things, which make it a little bit more entertaining. Because I think in that regard, kind of like strongman has maybe surpassed that a little bit, because it is, a show. It is an event which is really really cool to see. In terms of kind of your own training and kind of the first topic, if you like, that I wanted to touch on. Obviously, you're running the gym, owning the gym, but also coaching as well as family life and all the other things that come with that. How have you kind of found your balance between keeping on top of training? Obviously, you mentioned having children, and then taking being so busy, not taking on as many clients. How have you found over the last 10 years running a gym and coaching and trying to balance everything else?
It's something I'm still in the process of streamlining, of getting better with balancing all of it. I think that I've obviously needed to, with the family, well, not obviously, but I've needed to learn how to balance work and home life, to kind of pull back on the reins a little bit with work life, because I was used to working all day, every single day at Untamed Strength. And now that I have a family, which is more important than the gym, I need to figure out how to balance both of those things. And I think there was, it's only been, my son is only 4 years old now, but there was a time, and it's only recently that I've kind of adjusted this, but there was a time when I would really try to work around the clock. So I would work when they would sleep, which I still do sometimes, but I would work when they would sleep. If I had 30 minutes in a day that was some sort of downtime, I'd work. 15 minutes, I'd work. Work, interspersed with spending time with my family. And I thought that was kind of the way to do things. I'd just be as productive as I can, but I was still giving my family the time they need. But that doing that over and over and over for months on end and years on end, it gets tiring. Even though I was present with my kids, I'm still dog tired, because there's no break, not even mentally.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got 15 minutes. Let me hop on and answer some emails. I've got 30 minutes to kill. They're taking a nap. Let me get some programs done. And so I'm just constantly work, 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 work. And then by the end of the day or halfway into the day, they want to play or they need me to be engaging. I'm just tired. I'm just like not in it. While I feel like I'm there and I'm present, my body's physically there. I'm not actually there. I'm not engaged. And so I've had to pull back a little bit to say that I don't need to work every single 5 minutes that I have a chance to. And I found that my honestly, taking a couple steps back hasn't really hurt productivity much at all. And if anything, I'm more engaged and motivated with work and with my kids and with my family. So that's kind of been something that I think any dad will say they're trying to work around. But as far as training, I mean, training has always been something that still is something that I love doing. So you've heard it times and times again. If you love something enough, you'll find time to do it. And so it's not really a hassle. There are times when I don't want to train, but it's not really a hassle for me to think about like, oh, how am I training in, or I should be training, or this and that. It's more like I got some time to train right now. I'm going to go train, and I'll find a way to do it. And my schedule is not nearly as busy right now as it was, the first year of each of their lives, um, because they're not newborn infants. But training honestly is not very hard to get in, because I enjoy doing it. So I'll force it. I'll find a spot to do it. I've noticed that my training, at the peak of dadhood, wasn't necessarily less. It was just spread out throughout the week. So just to give you a quick example, I might have trained 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 2 hour days, 2 hour sessions. I can't do that anymore. Not right now, but at the time I couldn't do that anymore. So I would do something every single day, and I would do something for like 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes. Whereas I might go in and do bench, squat, and deadlift on a big session. I'll just do a couple sets of bench on Monday, a couple sets of deadlift on Tuesday, some squats on Wednesday, whatever. I didn't have an exact schedule, but I would just spread things out throughout the week and just get it in when I can. So that's how my training structure changed most, I think. Everything was just kind of thinned out. But I wouldn't say that I was severely detrained or that I got soft and fat and lazy. It just kind of adjusted how I approach training.
Yeah. And with that, because obviously, the adjustment in your routine, managing training around that, probably from a coach's point of view, because you hear this quite a lot of time with coaches trying to balance everything, and there's kind of a thought process that more is always better. So I need to be working more, and then I also need to spend time with family and friends, and trying to work all the hours that they can, but actually it can make you feel really, really tired and run down. And then actually either the service of coaching isn't going to be as good, or the time that you're spending with friends and family isn't going to be as good. Is that something that is, I always use the example of, it's a little bit like when you start out as a coach and you want to use all the coaching phrases, give as much information as you can. And then actually, as you start progressing, you use a little bit less, coaching cues and try and speak when needed, if you like. Is that kind of a natural cycle when you are busy and there is a change in life, or is that is that something that it just comes along and you need to get to that point where you think, do you know what, actually I need to change my schedule around because it's just getting too much. I hope that makes sense anyway from what I said there.
Yeah, I think that it's something that I think that you just have to learn. You just have to experience yourself, because you're absolutely right. There was a time when I was personal training was huge for me, and so that was even more so than getting memberships to the gym. I was just logging in personal training back to back to back to back. When you have 8, 9, 10 personal training clients lined up through a day, you're exhausted, and it might not even be physically, but mentally, you're just not as engaged in each client. You're not giving them everything you can, and so you're just offering a watered down service to more people. It's the same with content and videos. If I force myself to, you're going to make a video every single day. I could probably do it, but it's going to just water down on Tim's training to where it's like he's just posting these like very average videos frequently. Yeah, I'd rather conserve some energy and put more into fewer clients, or more into fewer videos. And I think that you can hear that and understand it, but a lot of times people just have to go through it. And I guess it's the same with training of doing. It could go either way of thinking that you need to do more, and you do that for a long period of time, and then realize there's no way, and so you adjust, maybe do a little bit less, or just adjust approach and say this is much better. Or the same can be said for people with the minimalist mentality of doing just as little as they can for as long as they can, and then why am I not making any progress? And it's like you need to do a lot more. You need to try a lot harder. And so, anyways, it's just this you just think that this is what needs to be done. You realize it's not helping you. And so you just need to adjust. And so, like I said, I think that it is something you learn, but yeah, something you have to learn, through experience.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on that because I know, a lot of people always want, practical takeaways and right, how can I do this? Whereas actually sometimes with everything that's kind of all the information that's out there, it still happens. There's trainers still. I know I've gone through phases where I'm just living off. I'm about 85% coffee, rocking up to the gym and getting sessions done, but I think sometimes it does get to that point where actually, look, something needs to change. Whether that be, you get feedback from a client being like, that session wasn't as good, or, you ended up, just falling asleep or not getting as much work done. One thing that you said earlier as well is that, you feel as though you're kind of more focused and more maybe driven when it comes to work as well because of your schedule. Is that because just feeling rested, and because you maybe only have a limited amount of time now to get stuff done, that it's kind of like, right, I need to make the most of this X amount of hours that you've got?
Yeah, I think that something that's helped me is um, I think cycling things helps with the monotony of work or with daily life. So a lot of times I have a hard time with not necessarily multitasking, but just changing gears constantly. So working with a client and then going home to do this, take care of some chores at home, and then go write programming, and then go make a video, and then go train. So I'm just constantly having to shift gears, and it really affects training, I think. To when you have a whole bunch of things you need to do and your mind's going all over, and you need to now I need to focus on this training session, and I need to lift heavy weight. It's hard to. So I think that having certain days throughout the week that are heavier with personal training clients, certain days throughout the week where I'm at the gym nearly every day, 6 days a week at least, but where I'm primarily taking care of house chores. So this is my day to do this, and then having certain training days, designated training days. So for me, kind of lumping those different things together helps not only break up monotony, but like I said, it's just easier to focus rather than just constantly changing gears. And there might be certain times where, on these days, I'm going to have a 4-hour window where I'll take the kids to the park or do whatever they want to do. So scheduling that like that helps me rather than, like I said before, where any sort of break in time, I mean, like anything. If I had my phone, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to get on emails and go check some emails because I have 3 minutes, whatever. That's just, you're just constantly changing gears. And so I'm just not able to give my full self to anything that I'm doing. So.
Yeah. And how do you think that improves your, because a lot of that is, and I've spoken about this. So basically we do like, an internship program at the gym that I'm at, which I think is really cool. But then also it's kind of not just teaching them how to coach, but also kind of like setting those boundaries and being more strict with your time. How is that something that you're kind of getting better at? Like how sort of strict are you with those time buying? Can't even get my words out. Time boundaries of, right, this is what I'm going to dedicate time to, because that's another sort of thing that I think people, yeah, you just block out your time, block out your day and do this, but then sometimes something will come up, especially, I can imagine as a gym owner, there's going to be a lot of things that is going to take up your time or might take a little bit of time. Is that again a skill that needs that continued development?
Yeah, so this is something I talk about with Mark Novak from the Strong Dad podcast, Strong Dad Club. But he talks about it often. Also, you do like I just mentioned with having these scheduled blocks of time.
Yeah.
That helps me, but you still have to be flexible. You still have to not let a change in plans ruin your whole day or ruin your whole mindset. So you've got to be flexible. And I talked about one of the things that we talked about on this podcast, and something he talks about often, is for a new dad with this new schedule that you're not used to. I don't think setting a training schedule is a good idea. I think you could have a program that you're trying to follow, but any time that you have to train, take advantage of it. Don't have planned rest days. Don't have planned lifting days, because when something happens, let's say today is my lifting day, and the grandparents come over and take the kids out for a few hours. Go train. Don't say, oh, well, I'm supposed to rest today. Go train. This is your time. Because tomorrow, when you have your scheduled training session and something happens, and you're pulled away from that, now you missed that day. Now it's a rest day. So anyways, you've got to be flexible and trying to adapt as things come your way. And I think that along with not giving a watered down version of myself to everything I do, try to be engaged in what you are doing. And there are plenty of times when I have a busy day at work, mainly just a whole lot of emails to get to or programs to write, whatever it is. And something happens, like my wife's not feeling well, and so I'm taking care of the kids all day, which we experience firsthand. Yeah. I'm not going to pout all day because I have to do this, because I'm stuck doing this now and I have so much work. That just puts me in a bad mood, and it gets no more work done. And now I'm just this pissed off dad. So rather, I just it stings for a second. Like, damn, I can't get to all this work today. What? Switch gears. So what? It doesn't matter. I'll get to it eventually. And I kind of tell myself I'm not doing open heart surgery on anyone. They are just emails. They can wait for another day. So I do try to be flexible with anything that comes up. And that's not just for being a dad. That's for being a gym owner as well. I like to train. I like to train early in the morning, first thing in the morning. There are fewer distractions. It's a number of reasons why, but one of them is there's fewer distractions. If I try to train at 1 p.m., there might be people coming in the gym and asking questions, which is fine. That's not a bad problem, but it's just while I'm training. The toilets broke. This happened, that happened, the circuit breaker blew, this treadmill's not working. There's just so many things that pop up during the day. And so I just try to schedule my sessions before all that, so that I'm here, I'm present, and I can help if things do pop up. So yeah, it's just shifting your schedule around, being flexible. Those are, the two main things I would suggest to anyone.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of because we kind of looked at both ends of the spectrum there of, trying to block out your time, schedule everything, but then also having that flexibility, which is kind of, whoa, hang on, what do you mean? I need to block out my day, but then also be flexible. But I think the point that I've taken from that, and this is what I try and speak to a lot of my clients do, is just focus on the task at hand. It's just kind of the phrase that I always like is like on Friends, where he's going pivot. You can just pivot on what you're doing, and then just focus on that task, because I've had it before, and I'm sure you've maybe experienced it or had it with clients that you train with, and they're already thinking about the next thing rather than just focusing on the training that they're doing at hand. And that's where you're either not going to put as much effort in or get the most out of the session, because you're always thinking of what's ahead rather than thinking just focus on that task at hand. Because it's a little bit similar to again, I'll use an example of nutrition. I'll say, right, let's focus on one thing. I'd rather you get one thing nailed and be exceptionally good at that one thing, rather than be crap at five things. Because if the more things that you've got to do, you're going to end up missing one of them.
Yeah, it's like, hey, the first thing we'll do is let's get rid of soda from your diet. That's it. You don't have to change anything. We don't have to change all of it. Just drop soda. And if they can get that down, then move forward. And another thing with being in the moment, sometimes it's with clients thinking ahead. Sometimes they'll think ahead. So I just experienced this with one of the guys I was working with at the gym. He had like four sets of something that he was doing, bench. And I had a certain RPE, a certain intensity I wanted him to be at, and he did his first set, and it was easy. I knew it just looked very easy. I'm like, that looked pretty easy. He's like, yeah, but I've got 3 more sets after that. I'm like, I don't care. Just give the intensity on this one set, and then don't worry about the set 2, 3, and 4 until we get there. And if we have to lighten the weight, that's fine. But yeah, he's looking ahead and he's trying to reserve this energy. And I'm like, just worry about this one set, or even you're doing a single or a top set. Um, I don't really want to push it because I've got all this stuff afterward. I'm like, don't worry about it. Just focus on this, and then we'll adjust everything if we have to afterwards. So yeah, same could be said, in the gym and out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that kind of goes onto the next thing that I want to touch on, because when people can think about the next thing, it's also thinking about looking at what other people are doing. So hang on a minute, that person is the same age as me. Why are they being able to do as much as? Why are they able to do more than what I can do? Or why is that person stronger than me? Do you think that's kind of or I suppose you could relate that to business as well, being like, oh, well, why has that person got more clients than me, or anything like that? Do you think that's kind of a common mistake and maybe pitfall that people walk into, either from a coaching point of view or a training point of view, because it distracts them from actually thinking about, right, well, actually, I need to manage my time a little bit better. I need to concentrate on my task at hand rather than thinking about what other people are doing.
Yeah, it's tough. It's something that is common with everyone I work with, even myself. Comparing yourself to what others are doing. I think it's good to compare yourself because you can see what's achievable. You can kind of look at the not just try to be a big fish in a small pond. But at the same time, yeah, it can be discouraging. I just worked with a guy earlier this week, and he has a bench press goal, and he was saying I don't understand how these little men and even women are lifting this much weight, and I struggle. I've been at the same weight for the past year. I just can't. It's just typical. Like there's so many other people who are lifting all this weight. Why can't I? And there's just so much that goes into it. It's not a comforting answer. It's kind of can be discouraging, but we're all different people. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different training experiences, training history. Some people have been doing it for the past 20 years. You just started last year. Just genetics plays a huge role, which people don't like to talk about much. But yeah, some kids are smaller than others. Some kids are big kids. Some kids are tall. Some kids are short. Some kids are just a little more athletic than others. Some people just really are attached to sports. Some people don't really have an interest in sports. And it doesn't just go physically. It can go, academia as well. Some people are just very good at math, and just seeing numbers just clicks, while other people, it just boggles their mind. Some people have great reading comprehension. They just love to read books. They can read something, memorize all of it, and comprehend it. Whereas other people's eyes just glaze over and they're just not interested. So it goes outside of physical. But yeah, there's just and people have different training responses. You could take two people who are similar height, same body weight, zero training history. You put them on the exact same program, and at the end of a year, they're both going to have different results. So it's, like I said, it's not like a super motivating answer, but it's the truth that some people need to hear. But yeah, I think that it is refreshing to meet people who do not compare themselves to others, because they don't spend a whole bunch of time on social media, so they don't really know what's capable out there. They're just kind of like, hey, I've doubled my squat in the past 6 months. This is pretty cool. So it is nice to see that. But yeah, there are people who, on the other end, spend way too much time on social media, and it just frustrates them. So,
and from that, then, because obviously, I think social media has a lot to answer for. I think it can be really useful, but then also there's quite a lot of noise out there, and be like, look, you can gain 100 kilos of muscle in 4 weeks. Things like that are maybe a little bit unrealistic, and kind of filtering out the noise from there. From kind of your experience, how can you use? Because I kind of think there's two ways you can go. How can you use comparing yourself to other people to be a motivator, and use it as a tool to be like, look, let's try and increase, your bench press. but then also how do you manage it in terms of just getting them to, like what we mentioned before about just focusing on themselves and focus on the task at hand? What's kind of been your approach or experience by using it as a tool for one of those things?
I think that it's good in the sense that everyone is inspired or motivated by someone or something at some point in their life. Um, you might see the strongman, world's strongest man on TV, and you think that looks pretty cool. I want to do that. You might see powerlifters lifting a bunch of weight, and you're like, these are big, strong dudes, big, strong chicks that uh, don't worry about dieting. I don't have to have a six pack. I can eat a lot of food, gain some weight, and get big and strong. That's motivating. Some people look at calisthenics and think, or gymnasts and think, wow, this is extremely impressive. I want to do this. Some people look at CrossFit, whatever discipline. So they see this and they do get motivated to start. And that was my experience as well. So in a sense, that is good because it is what propels them into motion to start doing something. So I wouldn't say that it's all bad. On the I think the downside is when you do the trap of tribalism, and that when we jump into these groups, we now want to do things not necessarily for ourselves, but just to prove to your tribe that you're worth it. I hope the baby's gonna go outside in a minute now, but she's like making all kinds of noise. Hopefully
All
the
right.
mic's not picking it up. But
They can join in on the podcast. It's fine.
yeah, right. But anyways, you set these goals because you want to prove yourself to your new tribe. Wow, powerlifting looks really cool. I want to do this. I want to bench press 315. I want to have a big bench. I want to bench 405. And you're so obsessed with that that's all your focus is. Just so you can kind of prove within your tribe that, hey, this guy's legit. This guy can do this. And it's the same with anything. It might be, I want to do my first handstand push-ups so that I can get some attaboys from the calisthenics group. So you do kind of get trapped into that. This is their measure of value, and so I want to pursue that when it's not necessarily this is what I value. So it can be harmful in that way if that makes any sense. And I've fallen for that a number of times, and it's not entirely a bad thing because you learn, all experiences, good or bad, you learn from. But yeah, there were plenty of times. Like right now, I'm not concerned with my numbers nearly as much as I used to be. That was all that I cared about at one point. Like I don't care if I was unhealthy. I didn't care if I was overweight. I just wanted bigger numbers. Even so much that like I didn't even care. I didn't even care if I was getting stronger. I would just wanted to see my body weight increase. You know what I mean? Like you're just wanting to see these numbers up so that people are like, dang, this dude's big. This dude weighs 250 pounds. This dude squats this. This dude squats that. And part of it, I think, is these people wanting to actually achieve that. But I think more of it is wanting to prove yourself or get some status within your tribe if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. And I don't think it's anything that isn't always necessarily a bad thing because everyone likes that thing of, wow, you've got a big deadlift or whatever it be because, it makes you feel good. Everyone would much rather have something good to be said and told, yeah, you're good at this rather than being, do you know what, you're rubbish. Do you think sometimes, and this is kind of something that I learned quite a lot from from COVID. So I know obviously COVID's a thing of the past really from lockdowns and all those sorts of things. But a lot of members, a lot of clients that I worked with obviously didn't have access to gyms. Some members had garage gyms, but then all of a sudden they had to find something else. And then obviously they actually found out that, from a health point of view, they maybe hadn't done as much cardio as what they did when they were powerlifting or weightlifting. And they needed to go out and walk and get fit. And they actually realized that, there's other things that are not more important, but there's other things that are equally as important as, increasing their total or their weight. And one thing that you mentioned there was like values. And do you think sometimes that as people progress in terms of their career, in terms of their lifting, that they actually find more values that are important to them and realize that, look, I just enjoy training. The numbers aren't the be all and end all. Yes, it's still good to increase them, but really it's kind of still being able to train, which is the bonus, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think that I would say that the majority of people as they get older, and when I say older, I mean like from your 20s to 30s you're older, from your 30s to 40s you're older. I don't mean like old as an elderly, but as people get older, they tend to hold their health in a little bit higher regards, and just function of everyday life. Whereas maybe in your 20s you're just a little bit more reckless. Not everyone, but or you're like I said, you're just trying to stand out, and to say, I want to bench press 350 because I'll be better than all my friends and I'll be stronger than all my friends, or because I'm trying to be a personal trainer and I know that if I have big numbers, I'll be a better, people will look at me or ask me for advice. Um, and so I think that maybe younger lifters get attached to those things. Whereas the older you are, values do change. You're kind of thinking about what can I do long term? How can I take a sustainable approach to lifting weights and exercising? And then certain things do change your attitude and your approach, like becoming a parent. Um, it's for me, I know that it's like I feel like what's the point of like one beating myself down to try to put 20 pounds more on my squat when I'm just fatigued, I'm beat up outside of the gym, my back is hurting, whatever, my hips hurt, and so it's like ruining your quality of life trying to like constantly just up your numbers.
Yeah.
And because when you're more experienced, you have to put more time into training, and just for marginal gains. And so I just kind of question, like, is this really worth it? Like, if I'm doing all this just simply for numbers, it's because it's no longer about just being strong and healthy, because I'm strong and I'm healthy, but now I'm just getting diminishing returns out of it. What's the point of holding on to this 500-pound squat if I can hardly bend over the bathtub to give my kids a bath, without my back hurting? I can't even go do yard work without being sore, huffing and puffing, or like after 45 minutes I'm done.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of like, this is who am I kidding? I'm kind of lying to myself. So all of these things I think do change perspective and approach and the values that you have. But yeah, as far as COVID goes, I know that for me personally, so I still had the gym and I was still able to go train at the gym. I was training at home mainly out of solidarity for everyone who wasn't, and the gym was still open. Like, the members could still use it. I just wasn't advertising it, and I wasn't accepting new clients. So the gym was still there, but I was doing a lot of training at home with minimal equipment. And for me, training used to be about just squat, bench, deadlifts. Everything I'm doing has to improve those things. Whereas now, I still have those goals. Trust me, it's not a bad thing. But I just need to push myself physically. So if I was sent to prison, I'm still going to do push-ups and bodyweight squats and sit-ups every single day.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoy pushing myself. And I think that COVID kind of, separated some people who were really, you're just passionate about powerlifting. And so now that you can't power lift, you can't do the sport of powerlifting, you're just not going to do anything, whatever. But I think a lot of people will realize, like, I just need to exercise because it makes me feel better. So maybe it opened their eyes a little bit. So I'm going to do push-ups. I'm going to go for a walk or a jog or do some hill sprints. But yeah, for me, I just really enjoyed getting tired and pushing myself and challenging myself physically. So if that meant that I'd have to do those things, hill sprints or push-ups, then I'll do that. So be it. So
I think that's an interesting point. Kind of that was a situation that was new for a lot of people, and it's kind of that thing of when you can't do powerlifting, what else can you do? And ultimately, I know for myself, taking a little bit of a step back from powerlifting, still training, I kind of probably, in all honesty, I kind of fell out of love with it a little bit, with training partners moving away, a couple of niggly injuries, and then just enjoying training. And it's actually that thought process of, oh yeah, I can actually use some machines rather than just squat, bench, deadlift. They're still in there, but you can play around with a lot more things, which I think is interesting. And I think especially with as strength sports grow in popularity, they're always going to be there. There's always going to be competitions there. There's M1, M2 lifters. There's different categories. There's always something that you can do from there. I think one thing that you touched on in terms of health, and probably more so related to the strength side of things is the thought process of if you gain weight, you're gonna get stronger. However, if you lose weight, oh no, that's bad. You're gonna lose strength. Is it as straightforward as that, or from your experience, is there actually a couple of well, actually, there's a few other things to take into account.
Yeah, I think that for the majority of people, that's not something they need to worry about in terms of gaining weight, losing strength, or increasing strength, and so on. Um, it's just my opinion. I think that your health and physical ability should be first and foremost. So if you do need to lose body weight, then that needs to take precedence over increasing your numbers. Um, and if you're skinny as a rail, you weigh 120 pounds, soaking wet with rocks in your pockets, you might need to start eating more. I think that the longer your training history, the more that actually applies. So if you are squatting 600 pounds and we were to try to get you to lose weight, it's probably going to have a negative impact on your numbers. But majority of people are not squatting 600 pounds. People who just get into the gym, if they're overweight, a little soft, and they're like, I want to lose some weight, I want to get stronger, but I was told I just need to focus on strength. Don't worry about losing weight. You can gain a good amount of muscle, good amount of strength while losing weight. If you have a lot of body fat, not a lot of muscle. So, and that's the majority of people watching. So I don't think that I don't think it really applies to many people. And it is one of those kind of bullet point myths, that's tied to strength training that just gets floated around, and people see that and they think, oh, that's why I'm not getting strong. I need to eat more. When that's not the case. Yeah.
I think from that as well, and why I asked that is because I went up a weight class in powerlifting, and I went through that phase of I know, and my numbers did go up. However, when you're touching on the health side of things, I didn't do it the right way. I just thought, well, if I just eat more, that'll be absolutely fine. And then all of a sudden, you're walking around and sitting down 10 minutes between sets, thinking, well, this is quite tiring. In terms of the balance between training and nutrition, is it a case of actually you need to think about what you're eating to make sure that you're not just, because anyone can put weight on, but it's whether you're going to actually use that. And obviously you mentioned I'm going to build up to this squat, I'm just going to put more weight on, this is the weight that I want to be. Whereas actually, is it a case of just matching your nutrition so that you can do it properly? And that's the same for losing weight as well, to maintain strength.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that if you are when you talk about bulking or eating a surplus, when you talk about cutting or losing weight, it doesn't take much to do either one of those. So just because you are bulking or just because you want to go up a weight class, realize that like strength and like building muscle, it should take time. Uh, I think bulking is well, I know bulking is appealing to a lot of people because it's like, oh, sweet, I get to eat a bunch of food. I love eating food, and I get stronger. That's a win-win. But honestly, a few hundred calories more than you're already eating at maintenance is going to be enough to is going to be sufficient for a bulk. So it's not just do whatever the hell you want and start eating Mickey D's multiple times a day. Um, so just a little bit will do you. And then it's on the other side of that as well. People think that, man, I need to cut, I need to lose some weight. So I need to drop, half my calories, when it's not sustainable, probably not very healthy. You just need a few hundred calories less than you are consuming. If someone, who was not lifting weights and just overeating all the time, someone who's sedentary, if they were, found out they were eating 4,000 calories a day, I wouldn't say, hey, we need to get you on a 2,000 calorie diet. We might adjust to 3,500 calories, which is doable. 500 calories is not a lot to eat, and it's not a lot to take out. It could be as simple as that example I gave at the beginning of just, hey, we're going to cut out sodas, or we're going to cut out any drinks that's not, you're just going to drink water. eat the same food you're eating, just water. That would do a lot. So I think a big misconception is that bulking needs to be this huge ordeal of overeating and force feeding. There are very, very few cases where I have actually encouraged that. Um, Someone might be just rail thin and they eat like a bird. They just never eat. Then it's like you need to get a little bit uncomfortable. You need to eat more.
Yeah.
But for the majority of people, yeah, just eat a little bit more. And that doesn't mean eat a whole fast food meal additionally to what you're eating now. Eat a couple more eggs. I don't know. Put some peanut butter on your bagel instead of just a plain bagel or something. But just eating a little bit more. And it's the same with losing weight. People might say, I'm not ready to go on a diet because they think it's going to be this huge overhaul when it could be just taking out a few things, just eating a little bit less. So that would be, I guess, any form of motivation or kind of a what people need to hear is that bulking doesn't require that many more calories in your eating. And the good thing is losing weight or cutting doesn't need to be drastic either.
Yeah, I think it's similar to what we said about in terms of, managing time and going from, trying to do all of the hours and not all of the hours. It's a little bit of I think people think that when it comes to losing weight, they need to eat nothing. And then when it comes to eating, to bulking and gaining weight, they need to eat absolutely everything. And it's always these extreme examples that people use to, whereas actually the people that have the most success are, okay, just eat a little bit more, eat a little bit less, take out take out one thing. Like the sodas, like you mentioned, it's just those things of, again, focusing on the task at hand rather than, I think, kind of a common theme that we've kind of touched on is the extremes of both and trying to settle in the middle of, right, what's the task at hand? What is it we're going to do? A little bit similar to like what you mentioned about, right, if you've got the time, especially if you're a new parent, right, well, I'm going to train then because that's the time that I've got. So, you're able to pivot a little bit more and just adjust it ever so slightly. Quite a lot of topics and a few tangents thrown in there, what we've chatted about. Really enjoyed chatting with you today. The last question that I like to ask for everyone listening, from all the topics that we've chatted about, what would be your take-home points or words of wisdom?
Oh man, I would say, I don't know. It's hard to say because I don't necessarily like telling people what to do, which sounds kind of silly because a lot of my YouTube videos are instructional videos. But I do think that I'm just a guy on the internet or a gym owner who posts things. If people want to find that, if they find it helpful, great. If they share it with their friends, that's great. But I think I used to be more of, this is the way. You need to change your ways and be like this. But now I'm just I don't think that at all. I just kind of put the information out there and hope that it's helpful to people. So I don't know. I don't like to tell people, how to think or what to do. And the reason I'm saying that is because I guess I would touch on what I said earlier about, I think your health and physical abilities reign supreme. Beyond that, certain arbitrary numbers and the sports that you're playing, whether it's powerlifting or strongman or weightlifting, should come second. That's my opinion. I know that I haven't always thought that way. So if someone really wants to go all in with powerlifting or all in with strongman, then that's fine. But I would just kind of maybe offer a little bit of advice, maybe just a little whisper in the ear that your health, longevity is more important. And that could be something as simple as, hey, don't forget to do your cardio. Do a little bit of cardio because it's good for you. It's good for your heart, and it's probably going to actually improve your training with those disciplines. But also with steroid use, which I see too. Again, I'm not going to tell someone, do or don't use steroids or whatnot, unless they're asking my personal opinion. But if I can whisper into your ear, like maybe this isn't worth it. Yeah.
I think that's actually a good take-home point. That's the whole reason why I set up the podcast. If you can take a little bit of information out of it, a lot of things that we've chatted about are opinions and from maybe both of our experiences. if you can take a little bit of information and apply that and think and find it helpful, I think that's the goal, because there is a lot of information out there and other people might have different goals. You mentioned earlier in the podcast, everyone's different. Everyone's going to have different thoughts, different goals of what they want to achieve. So yeah, thanks a lot for taking the time to jump on, Alan. For everyone listening who might have any questions about what we've chatted about today, see the content you put out there, or reach out to yourself, where could people find you or reach out to you?
Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel, just Untamed Strength or Alan Thrall, either one will pop up. Instagram at Untamed Strength. If anyone's in the area and looking interested in the gym, the website's trainuntamed.com. And there's actually a questionnaire submit section where if you want to ask any questions, really. And I check that email every day. So
awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Alan, for taking the time to jump on. Really, really enjoyed chatting with you today. Thanks a lot to everyone listening, and I will see you all next week.